maybe one and a half. Good evening. It is 6 p.m. and I'm calling to order the October 18th meeting of Montgomery Economic Development, the Montgomery Economic Development Corporation. We will begin with public comments. We have a request from Shauna Riley, who's in the audience. Shauna, please come forward. Where would you like? We have our standard there, but if you'd like to stand there, you can. Actually, people will hear you better from here. We have a microphone.
Would you like me to speak? Well, I can speak. I am here to voice concerns from myself and my tenants at 202 McCown Street for the some of the events that happened during the festival this past weekend. I was notified on Friday night that by my tenant at Wine and Design that our property was being used by the festival. We didn't know that that was happening. There were porta potties, a police station, and vendors using the property. And that poses a concern first as a property owner. It poses a concern for liability. It concerned me because had something happened on that property, I would have been liable for it. And that's not something that I feel is justified or should be expected of me or any property owner, in the city. Also, my tenants were incredibly frustrated. I believe that my partner was there Saturday morning, and I think he spoke to you, and tried to kind of get some of that under control. But what ended up happening is Wine and Design is a service-based industry. They're in the service industry, not the retail industry, and they had several events of their own lined up. They had over 60 clients who had prepaid to come to their various events on Saturday. All but 4 of them had to pay had to park elsewhere and pay just to get to their event. They had to pay a festival fee just to get to their event, which then my tenant had to reimburse them for. And it was just, it was completely out of the blue for us. We were never contacted about land use, and they were never contacted about how this might affect their business. I do believe the coffee shop and boutique was contacted verbally, but there was no land use permission given in written form, and there was no proof of insurance, festival insurance at all given. And it's very concerning for me. And even more, it's more concerning for me as a landlord, because they are my responsibility. And hearing the money loss, like this is their busiest time of year, and it's what keeps them afloat during the summertime when it's dry. in Montgomery. And so hearing that they lost money this weekend in, one of their biggest, it was kind of like their opening, like they were packed full, a full house, and they lost money. And so I'm here to, I am not here to place blame, I am here to voice concerns so that in the future this doesn't happen. It's happened before with the Antique Festival too. And I've tried in private to voice concerns so it doesn't happen, and that does not work. So I am here now to ask that please be taken care of from here on out, because as a property owner and a landlord, I cannot have this happen again. This is the third time that I have feel like I've voiced my concern and it just has gone unheard. And this time was a very big problem. It was a very big problem.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We also have an online comment from Philip Lefebvre. I'm sure the list of people asking to do this is long, so if it is allowed, and for what little my opinion is worth, I'm submitting this here. One of the main purposes of MEDC is to improve the lifestyle of city residents and attract tourism. Having been involved actively within the city for the last 20 years, one of my biggest regrets and source of embarrassment is that the third oldest city in the state has had little or nothing to offer that attracts people to it. It is great to see that this is changing and that people have been hired to help put on and enable events and other activities. We need more of that, not less. Montgomery has been a dead zone for too long. The city needs to hire more Rebecca's and Amy's, not fewer. We plan to open a new restaurant in Henderson in the near future. One of the deciding factors and what prompted this decision was an event that Charlie Diggs was putting on near the Anderson Courthouse and how it attracted people. Montgomery needs more Charlie Diggs. These expenses pay for themselves in sales tax revenue, businesses for our stores and restaurants, and the overall image of vibrant city. Filled with that. So that's the close of public comments. Approval of minutes. Item number 1, consideration of possible action regarding the minutes of the September 20th, 2021 MEDC budget public hearing and regular meeting. Any comments on those? Sorry, I forgot to note earlier, we have a quorum. We're missing Mr. Lundeen, Mr. Walker, and Mr. Angelo. Mr. Lundeen obviously did send the minutes there. Does anyone have any comments on his minutes, which were again quite thorough?
On the financial report, I thought I had presented it, and he's showing that it was presented by Richard.
Okay.
I did ask Richard a couple of questions in it, and he's got them in here. So,
Okay. So make that change to the minutes.
yes, ma'am.
Any other comments?
No, I didn't see anything else.
Okay.
And I got them this afternoon. I read them this afternoon.
So I make a motion, we accept the minutes as approved with the adjustment.
Yes, I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes as presented pending the comments that Carol made. This motion is debatable and amendable and requires a majority vote. Any other comments on this item? Hearing none. Motion to approve this item, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously, and we will approve the minutes of the September 20th, 2021 MEDC budget public hearing and regular meeting. Item number 2, financial report through September 30th, 2021. Carol?
Yes, ma'am. This is the report for tonight's meeting. The interest rate on the tax pool has stayed the same now for 2 or 3 months. The sales tax transfer of $68,690.66 was transferred on 10/7. The remainder of the loan, $188,684.21, was paid and transferred on September the 29th. So that was to do with the budget of that year. And then there are a few charges that are going to be out of the next report. Some small ones on the credit card bill that didn't come in time for this payment. I think they're totaling $293.30. Other than that, I don't have any other comment unless y'all have a question.
It looks like we came in super close to our amended budget number for sales tax. So our year-to-date is $960,000 in sales tax revenue versus our budget of $930,000 roughly.
Make a motion to approve financial report through September the 30th, 2021.
Aye. Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the financial report through September 30th, 2021. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the financial report through September 30th, 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries unanimously, and we will approve the financial report through September 30th, 2021. Item number 3, consideration of possible action to accept the downtown design master plan. Dave?
Directors, as you may have seen in the email earlier, one of the design team members was sick, not able to make the presentation. In our view, he's one of the, he's maybe the most critical team member in terms of being able to encapsulate and talk about that vision. So in conversations with him and the president earlier today, we made the decision to push that. Likewise, item number 4. So staff recommendation on these 2 items would be to table these. What we're doing right now is discussing with them some potential dates for a reschedule for a special meeting. As soon as I have some dates for them for options, I'll be getting with the other directors on when that will occur.
Okay.
So we're going to ask for a motion to table items 3 and 4 if the board agrees.
I'll make the motion, we table items 3 and 4, pending a special call meeting, right? We're going to try to get this done before the next.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's my motion.
Second. This motion has been, it's been moved and seconded that we table items 3 and 4, ideally to a special meeting before the next one. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. We will table items 3 and 4. Item number 5, consideration of possible action to purchase subscription for custom mapping software. Dave?
Members of the board, I believe that you guys have talked about this before, but what this is the item for the mapping component. If I can let my screen warm up there, I'm going to bring this up and give you an illustration of it. But again, this is the online software that is similar to, this is our website here. Becky just earlier today got this embedded on our website. On the city's website, you guys all may recognize the Visit Montgomery, Texas website. Is this, we live on this? Is this a live on?
Yeah.
So if we go to the homepage here on the Visit Montgomery, Texas, we've got 3 options down below the banner. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking on the Take a Tour, which is the button or the image here on our left. And both the older districts link is here under these items here. You can see that there were 15 items or 15 points of interest on the districts. On the MapMe software that I think has been discussed a couple times, we can see that it's actually a lot longer list there that we're able to add to it. As the information pointed out, we were able to get a trial run of this software to see what it was. I think there was some uncertainty about, kind of what the benefit or exactly how some of the details work. So what I'm going to do now is click on this, and when you click on that, it just kind of takes over your browser window and just enlarges it. So you see these little icons here, and I'm going to zoom in. So these little icons, they just get smaller as I zoom in. On my screen, this guy looks like a little government building. This guy looks like a little house. The difference is a public building, or which could include a retail store or something like like that versus a private building or someone's residence. So the idea is to be able to quickly give a user an indication of, is this a space I can walk up to and touch the side of the building, or is this somebody's house I need to, respect their privacy? But if we click on one of these, so this one is the First State Bank. So when you click on these, it does a couple things. It kind of puts the map into sort of a 3D view. But what I can read very well on my screen, and it's a little hard to read here, but this is a description. So there's a link. I could click on this link. Oh, I'm going to click on it here. So you can see it takes me immediately to a Google map. It tells me the information about the building. So what you have kind of at your fingertips is effectively a book. It's very easy to lay out to get an understanding of where these things are in town, as well as a photo, directions, and a blurb about the history of it. So is there anything there that I'm leaving out or glossing over?
No. The main thing that's different about the page 4 platform versus this, which we'd also have to pay for eventually, is that the package that we're talking about isn't just the single layer. We would also be able to add in, we would have a total of 5 layers. So this would be one. The intent would be to have a shopping, dining, I would think goats at some point when we have enough of them, and then also a 5th one to be used on a temporary basis for when we have events. So it would be parking, the event map, that kind of thing, and we could click that one on and off and use it for like the upcoming Halloween event. It could have been used last week for the Charlie Diggs event, so people would be able to use it relative to what's absolutely happening. But we don't need something that's 500 layers deep because our events are very specific to that week or that day.
Now I find this on the website.
So it is available on the website. It also exists within the MapMe software website itself. So it's mapme.com/ I think Montgomery, Texas maybe. There's a link to it that's been on our Facebook a couple of times. It was also in the Courier. Their reporter found it and did an article on it.
Right.
So the nice thing about this versus the district's thing is that you don't have to download an app.
Okay.
So you can find it from a bunch of different places, but it's just a website. And it works with whatever mapping software you use. So, if you click on where you want to go, and then it, goes to your default browser or map software, then you just hit route me, and boom, you're there. You don't need to then download an app and then try and figure out how the app works, and then
That's good.
not be able to update the information. So like when Dave pulled up the bank versus the Oaks, you notice there's a lot more information about the bank than the Oaks, which just happens to be what I had. But if Miles were to give me 20 pictures of the Oaks, I can easily change that. Whereas again, the district stuff is not really changeable at this point. So this is something, or if we happen to find, a special new, say something moves to Fernland, or I want to add the Fernland buildings. Right now, Fernland is just one location. I can add all of those in. And it doesn't take a computer genius to do any of this. This is all drag and drop stuff that you're familiar with. If you can use PowerPoint, you can use this stuff. It's a little bit more complicated to add it into the city's website, but not significantly so.
Yeah, that was my next question. Historically speaking, I know the schools have a lot of treasure hunts and historical research, particularly churches dating back from 1800s. You could just literally add those to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, someday I'd like to have a map of the cemeteries.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we don't have that we should, is all of those mapped out with the people that, I wouldn't say are part of our history because everyone in the cemetery is part of the history, but you can add to that. So it's a little bit like ancestry, but not because it's related to us, not to, the world. So it'd be nice to have, if there's somebody going to the new cemetery, to Memorial Cemetery, who are these people, you know, and, oh, I'm right here, click. This is, you know, oh, you walk 10 feet and then you meet this person, you know, that's something that would be really powerful. And again, you know, kind of what Philip said is that you're adding 2 reasons for people to come here and giving them something to do when they're here. And all of this technology is, it's not specific to anything that you're really, you're not investing a lot in. I mean, it's time for sure, but you know, you haven't invested in an app, you haven't invested in equipment. All of this stuff is with companies that if they don't change with times, they're going under. So their incentive is to migrate with the times. And so I think, you know, as things change or as people's habits change, you know, this company will change as well. So, you know, we kind of ride that in a way that doesn't take a lot of work or engagement on our part. You know, they'll do upgrades and we'll find that, you know, we stay current as the company upgrades and changes things.
It said the expenditure for this item would likely be around $850 to $900. Is that total?
That's
Is that a month?
That's an
Is
annual
that
fee.
all right?
And I think it's a little bit less because they do give government discounts.
So once you pay that, you're done?
No, you have to pay annually. It's a
Annual fee.
subscription.
But I meant,
Yes.
once you pay it once a year, you're
Yes.
through. You don't pay monthly, you don't have add-ons and,
No, and it's cheaper. I mean, you can pay monthly, but then, you know, for a group like ours, you know, if you decide that you like it, and this is, you know, this was a big investment of my time, and then they gave us the 3 months for free to see if we do like it. You know, if you think you like it, then it's better to go annually because it's significantly
Okay.
cheaper than monthly.
So after each upgrade of what you add, is there an additional charge, or that's a flat fee?
So what I'm talking about for the 5-map overlay, that is included in this fee. So you get 5 maps for this. It'll take a little while to roll all 5 maps out. I mean, the goat map is there's only 9 goats in the city, so that would take 2 seconds. You know, a restaurant and shopping one will take significantly longer to get all of the companies and good pictures and that kind of thing. And then obviously updating it on an ongoing basis is an investment of some time, but you know, that's something again that anyone can do who's interested in it because it's not, it doesn't take a high-powered programmer to do. It just takes somebody with an interest and aptitude or head down work to get it done.
I was encouraged at the Fernland that I was able to take my phone, use the QR technology, and up it came. So our connectivity seems to be, you know, pretty good around the city, and so we need to keep it that way. But looking at your data at the bottom, Facebook post, September 4th had 118 likes, several positive comments, 16 times it was shared, 4,300 people reached. And so the data that I see, you know, supports what I hope I would continue to see is that we're marketing ourselves and keeping track of data. So as we go and we update, we'll continue to do that. We'll know whether we've got worth out of it.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is, you know, I've sort of thought that we might go to an option for the electronic kiosks for reaching people who are interested in downtown. And the kiosk business is dodgy. Like the hardware is difficult, you know, because you have to have something super weatherproof and not super breakable, but you have to be able to touch it to make it work. But then what happens on the back end inside the computer stuff, they get you for like the annual subscription, the maintenance, computer stuff, this and that. But this is really all you need to make the computer stuff work, which means you only need a Google browser or something like that. So in some ways, this is an investment if we decide to go to a kiosk, because what do people want to know when they go to a kiosk? What do you have for shopping? What do you have for restaurants? What do you have for historical stuff? I mean, there's not much else that you would do with a kiosk that you haven't already done with this map. And then the good news is that you're only using one place to update it. But the other thing is, like, what's happening here next? So then you need a calendar. And next time, I have an idea for that too, that's coming next time. So, you know, you don't need to spend like where they hit you with the annual fees and the maintenance and then, $50 for this, and $50 for that, because all of it is handled right here. We've already invested the time to do something. And again, what really gets you as, organization is making sure A, your data is beautiful, and B, that it's updated, and C, that you're only doing it once. So I think, this gives you the opportunity to branch out into a lot of different areas because it's so easy. The code to put this on the city website was like, 2 lines long.
But just for clarification, if we authorize this, we could look at it in a year and so forth if they get
Absolutely.
too spunky with fees or whatnot, if they want to add. When I make the motion, we approve item number 5.
To purchase?
To purchase.
Okay. I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we purchase a subscription for custom mapping software. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of purchasing subscription for custom mapping software, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Item passes unanimously, and we will purchase a subscription for custom mapping software. Item number 6, 7, and 8, city reports.
You're up, Mr. Gann. In your packet, I do have to apologize, I put the wrong engineering report. You'll notice the date says, in your packet says August 19th. The hard copy here says September 23rd. I'll tell you that engineers move slow in general, so there's not much difference, but there's a couple of things to point out on this one that weren't on the last one.
Clean update.
Downtown water line replacement is almost done. We're at the punch list, phase of that. The really good thing about, there's several good things about it. For us, and touching on that downtown project again, this is a piece of the infrastructure work that needs to be done before we start thinking about the nice looking stuff that goes on top of the ground. We've got to get the nice looking stuff in the ground. This is, again, this is a critical link. It runs north-south along Pond Street and then crosses over in front of the community building. So any parking or anything, any ideas that we have on Pond, whether it's sidewalks, parking, street trees, plants, anything, we've got the stuff under the ground now that say we're ready to keep going with it. So,
I know we didn't have the Gunda thing here, but I've looked at the different things in the plan. Of that 1 to 3 year plan that they're talking about, they really emphasize, the water infrastructure and things of that nature. So that was like $50,000 of that. Are we saying we're $50,000 ahead, or is that something that was?
well, that was, so what they talked about was the drainage.
Drainage, yeah.
master study. That was not, that wouldn't be, take the place of this, but again, this was work that would be done as part of the, before we do anything with Pond Street, we would have looked at this water line and said, hey, we've got to replace this before we, spend too much money on the street. So to answer your question, it doesn't take the place of, any type of other infrastructure work. And again, part of our capital improvement planning on the city side, coming up this fall, is going to be an evaluation of the capital improvement plan and an update of it, which will encompass the rest of the infrastructure in downtown water sewer.
Okay.
Downtown.
At least we don't have to wait for this project to get designed or done.
Yeah,
Right.
this, I think I was still talking about the early phases of this project, probably on council. So it's kind of, again, it's, Mikey told me when he first started, this was a project, that they had talked about. So again, it was, not in this specific iteration, but this has been a long-standing goal of the city to get this kind of the middle of our water infrastructure.
Yeah.
All consistent with the 12-inch line. So,
Okay.
water plant number 3 improvements, the contractor's getting ready to start out there again. And how this interfaces with you guys ultimately is the capacity for future economic growth, both on the residential and the commercial side. I'll skip the GLO projects, but if you guys have any.
I have a question. The GLO projects, at the time when they done a study, and I brought this up at our last meeting, Town Creek was a part of that study. So if it was a part of the study, and why was it not assessed? Do you know? Because, you know, we just can't keep fixing some flood problem and not address them all, you know?
When you say concrete, help me.
Town Creek.
Oh, Town Creek.
Town Creek, yeah.
I'm sorry. So Town Creek, you know, said simply, is just outside the boundaries of this, you know, GLO project. To get a GLO project, you tie it to a couple of things. One of those things, and one of the most weighted things, is the income levels. So if you try to mess with Town Creek, suddenly your watershed and your population skew such that you no longer qualify for the grant. Or you're not going to score low enough to get the grant. So what this is, you know, the reason they look at Andrews Branch is because they're able to then look and say, hey, you know, we're looking at this, you know, geographic area. It's a smaller watershed that you're able to say, these are the people, you know, and it's primarily low income, you know, based on census data that you have to tie that grant money to. So that takes your question. That's why they're looking at Andrews Branch, not at Town Creek in this specific project. That's not to say Town Creek, you know, isn't, you know, going to be looked at or doesn't need to be looked at. It's just that under this, you know, grant, when you get a grant from the state, it's blinders on, stay inside your project area because it all gets really, really bad when you don't.
Yeah, I couldn't understand that. I think Richard said something about the GLO standards. I guess the fact that you couldn't mess with Town Creek to leave it like it was for some ungodly reason. So I don't.
Are you talking east of 149 or are you talking west of 149?
West.
West of 149.
Yeah.
So, right, you know, and again, you know, with that piece of it, you know, being out of, you know, you draw a boundary on a map and you say, okay, if it's inside this boundary, this is what we can work on. But if it's outside this boundary, and Town Creek was just outside the boundary of what this grant was going for.
Okay, so any other capital improvements that may be considered, would Town Creek become a potential project to be done? I mean,
I think in terms of the city would look to, if we could find a way to fund it with grants, I don't think that we would shy away from it. I'll say historically, the city has generally not gone on to private property to make drainage improvements. That's the city's general position on it. You know, again, this Andrews Branch, you know, with the GLO money, we're able to go after some of that kind of stuff. But in absence of that, you know, it would ultimately be up to the council to decide, you know, what they wanted to look at in terms of, you know, drainage. But again, historically, we've not really participated, in the drainage side of things on private property.
well, you know, as development continue to happen here in town, there's no other place to go but north from a development standpoint, and maybe that can be one of the, I guess, when you get corporations or people coming in, the seeking they having help in trying to do that, help with that project, you know?
Right. And certainly,
I mean, I don't know, I'm just trying to throw something against the wall because it's been a problem for so many years. You get a good rain in here, you can't, 149 is impassable.
right. Now, that's at Andrews Branch where that's overflowed, though, isn't it? Right? Well, I guess it still will at Town Creek. It still will at Town Creek, you know that. But certainly something, you know, to keep on our minds and look at. And, you know, any private development that ultimately feeds into it, they've got to handle their piece of the drainage. So kind of the deal is they can't make things worse, but that's not making things better. It's just not making things worse.
Well, we just got to find a place, because when it happened, all the residents that is just displaced. So at some point in time, it got to be addressed, you know. We just can't keep having reasons why we can't do it. So, and whatever we can do as a city, we need to try to get it done.
Right.
Thank you.
Going on with that, transportation overall, the city has recently looked at a couple of speed studies and, you know, speed studies and traffic signal warrants to talk with TxDOT about things like traffic signals and speed limits. Obviously, with the growth, trying to stay ahead of some of the traffic congestion issues is a challenge. Feasibility studies under the development line item there, we've got a couple residential subdivisions that are being looked at. Hills of Town Creek out on the west side, they're proposing a section 5, which has just under, it says here that it's about 70 lots, just under 70 lots. Porter Farms is a 21-acre development up on the north side of town, just north of 1097, east of 149. They gave a short presentation to council to get some feedback on which direction they were going to go. I'll skip the kind of the warranty inspections and that kind of thing. The camera track, you've heard the talk of the kind of Redbird Estates or Redbird Meadows out on the southwest side of town, still moving forward. And other than that, just continually addressing things that have to do with growth. So if you guys don't have any questions on the engineering report, I'll move on. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Did the total houses in Town Creek Crossing change from 199 to 150?
It did.
So that's just expansion of lots then?
That's right. I'll jump over to the development report now, and that'll be a good time to segue into it, and I'll hit on that one first. The initial plans, as you mentioned, called for 199 lots, 8 commercial reserves so section 1, which is what they just finished completing the roads and infrastructure for, had right at 100 lots in it. And so the plan was to do another 99 lots just to the west. And in looking at some of the site conditions that they had to deal with, and in looking at some of they're a little bit down because there's also a gas line easement, so section 2 is sandwiched in between the creek and a gas line easement. And for whatever reason, as they looked at it, they said, look, it's going to be easier for us to do 38 lots in section 2 instead of the almost 100. So they're doing the 3/4 acre size lots was the last we had heard. Ultimately, like you said, we get about 50 fewer homes and, a larger lot size in that section 2.
Okay. Is that normal for that to happen, or is that something you would expect in the surveying
It's not
phase?
uncommon. It's certainly not uncommon. Very likely they got into something on the drainage side of things where some of the numbers just weren't working, and the kind of what would have given them the most traction is just to reduce the overall number of lots, because that's going to overall it's just going to give you more room to work and move stuff around. Topography is a big part of the reason. When you get a little too steep, you need to get further apart so the pad sites aren't right on top of one another stepping down. And again, you reach a point of, as I mentioned, returns. If you
So we lost some there, but we gained some in the camera. From 5 months ago at least.
Yep, they kind of one in and out the other.
Yep.
So to continue on with the development report on the east end down there, as the report mentions, the engineers also mentioned, if you notice the construction just this side of Panda Express, which is now open, they're working on the access roads, so essentially this route's going to come all the way over to Buffalo Springs, and it's kind of their back driveway. It's going to be nice for folks who are trying to head back west. They can come over to the near the auto zone in the toys and get out there, rather than trying to have to face the traffic right across at the Kroger and figure out how to turn where. Wendy's is under construction, moving along well. We expect to see something from them. There's a couple guys that I don't think I'm going to talk about on the north side. There's one company on the north side that's looking at a parcel on the Kroger side. It would be good, a good service for the city if the deal works out. But it's a smaller pad site, so we're not talking a big. I'm talking one of the normal. It's the same pad site as the Burger King's on, as the the Blue Wave's on. So we're not talking anything huge like the individual development. Nothing downtown to report this month outside of the festival that was had that sounded like a real good time for my house. Talk a little bit more about residential development. We had 34 homes completed in 2021. None in September. These things, go in waves, and so you see it, your first inclination is to say, oh my gosh, something happened. We didn't get any COs this month. But what happens is next month we'll have twice as many. You really need to take about a 3-month view on, house building to start to to get any kind of sense of what's really happening. Things like, we did issue 9 new single-family home permits this month. Our average has been 6 to 7. We've just started seeing the first of the homes that are going over in Phillipstown Creek Crossing. Those builders are submitting 8 and 9 homes at a time, as opposed to 1 or 2 homes at a time. So we're about to see a bit of a difference on building permits, and it won't slow down for quite a while.
That's good.
So absolutely is. We talked a little bit about the grant stuff on the city side there, Water Development Board funding, GLO funding. Transportation and mobility, you might have noticed a stall on the turn lane. If you've not heard yet, all the electrical workers are still in Louisiana. That's what we're waiting on. We're waiting on electrical lines to be moved, but they're telling us that we don't have anybody to do it. So we'll keep you posted as we find out updates on that.
I guess that seems reasonable, that other people deserve to have power to their homes before we get there.
Yeah.
It's very hard to act mad or feign, injustice when they're out trying to get people's electricity restored.
That's true.
So,
Storms that were, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago?
4 weeks ago.
yeah.
Yep.
So, we should hear this month on our TxDOT sidewalk grants. We've got one on the MLK corridor. We've got one right here leading from downtown over to the library area in Fernland. We should know within the next couple of weeks what's going to happen with that. So we'll keep you posted there.
That could be very interesting for us once we have some clear information about what works for our plan.
That's
So,
true.
Yeah, I'm kind of moving
Exciting.
down here on that because we should make a presentation on that one. And there's
Yeah.
the update is we're waiting on the presentation.
There you go.
And with that, we've got the events report, which I'll turn over to Amy.
There's a printed paper for you for September and October, since I wasn't here in September to tell you about the events in September. We had the Wine and Music Fest downtown, which was a big hit. I have some details there for you. The Rock for Vets event was September 25th. They could not have the helicopter dropping a parachute this year, but hopefully next year they'll get that in. They did raise $10,000 for the Green Beret Foundation, so that was fantastic. Then that same day, we had the Fernland 10-year anniversary, which that went off very smoothly, and we didn't have any problems, and everybody had a good time. Slightly hot, but not too bad. The October events, the Quilt Walk had to be canceled. I had to make that call on a Wednesday. It was a very tough call, but we had vendors driving in from Austin with hotel reservations, and we just had to cancel it. So
And it did actually rain a lot.
Oh, yes.
the event was scheduled for Friday and Saturday, and it rained all day Friday, so
All
that
day.
would have been terrible. But we did do a virtual quilt show on Facebook, which was beautifully done. Thank you, Ms. Huss. And we took several quilts out to the Live Oak Senior Care Center and had 20 people show up for that, and they had a wonderful time. They got to touch them and look at them, and they had a fabulous time doing that. So that was a big hit for them. The Fall Festival was this past Saturday. They're estimating 9,000 people showed up. That's their figures. I haven't heard a hard count yet, but that's what they're looking at. The EDC, I had a contract with Mr. Diggs and paid him $8,000 to cover the police and public works and those types of fees. With the way the contract was structured, they will pay back that $8,000 plus a percentage of all ticket sales. So the EDC will be in the positive on that. And so that's a wonderful thing, but we don't have all the figures yet, so we're very excited about that. That same day, we also had the farmers market started. I didn't get to attend that one. I sent my husband down there to shop, which he loves doing. He got there early and they already had a crowd.
It was very busy. I don't know if y'all went, but it was.
No, but I heard about it, said it was, now, was that their first time?
Yeah.
Oh, it was?
That's
I didn't know
the
anything
first
about
time.
it.
It's going to be every Saturday.
Every Saturday?
Every Saturday. And they have produce and eggs and meat and dairy and all sorts of very high quality. They've been very particular about the farmers that they're bringing in with organic crops and how they're very strict on that. So it should be all very high quality stuff.
And is it in their parking lot or is it over to the?
It's in, they ran some, and they have bands, I think, I heard, they planned on having a
I
band.
didn't see one this time, but
But,
there weren't a ton of, there probably were 10 or 15 vendors, but, you know, had very nice setups, all the tents were the same. And, I mean, the crowd was incredible, and there were people selling out probably by, I'll bet the bakery sold out before 10.
wow.
Now, this Joshua Reed, he owns the Blueberry Patch?
Joshua Reed is 22, and his parents own the Blueberry Sanctuary.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
highly intelligent, and he's doing a fabulous job getting all these vendors and advertising and.
Very well attended. I got some great photos to use for the next time.
Then coming up October 30th, we have the trick or treat downtown. We have taken that over from Jennifer Skinner, who's had it for years. She doesn't have time to keep it going, so we'll be taking that over. And this year, we're going to have the police officers out there for traffic concerns, that there's children in costume and cars don't go well. So we're stepping up safety on that one some more. The pet parade is a new event that will be November 13th before our next meeting. That's going to be a very small, family-friendly, very short parade for children, adults, and there isn't a very strict rule on animals, but that they can't be tigers or.
They must be domesticated.
I mean, but we can have horses, pigs, dogs, cats, ferrets.
Please, no snakes.
I told them that.
I don't do snakes.
I don't think snakes are domesticated, so you're good.
No, well, still.
But that should be fun. We have DJ Kevin Smith scheduled for that, and it should be just a little small family fun time, and that'll be fun. We have had some serious missteps, and I take full responsibility for that. I do. I came in here in July, and these events were already halfway planned, and city code had just changed with the requirements, and there hasn't been a very clear structure on how things should be done. I'm working on that, and I'm trying to get things cleaned up so we can move smoother. I'm fixing up and emailized property owners and businesses so we can give them information up front. I can contact them personally to check on things. So I see things improving, but there have been problems, and I apologize for that. I'm trying very hard to get this straightened out and fixed so we can have these events in town that help business owners, property owners, citizens, and I think we'll get there. It's just not going to be as smooth as we all would like to see, but I see a path forward, and so
Good.
I think it'll be good. We'll all work together, and I think we'll get there. But
Well, I know in the
do
past,
apologize very much. I do.
Thank you.
I do.
I think that it's also very noble of you to take full responsibility. I do think that the event guy should have known a little bit better and maybe helped you along some. So I don't personally believe
Okay.
that you are fully responsible, but I think that it's very kind of you.
But in the end, I am the city liaison,
yes.
and I'm responsible for getting all of these boxes checked. And I did not check all boxes, and I do apologize to you, Sean.
Thank you.
So we'll fix it, and I'm trying to get things smoother, and I think it'll be good. But just hang in there,
Yeah.
Good deal.
okay?
I know from the past with the wine festival and antique festival, communication was the big number one thing, and starting out early is better than the week of. And being the city secretary at that time, I would get the complaints on the Monday or Tuesday afterwards, and it always seemed to be they didn't quite get the right person in that business.
Right.
They either talked to someone in there, or they left the papers and they didn't talk to the right person. And it always made a big difference when they did get to the right person of the property or the owners of the business. So that's,
I'm fixing that.
yes, you are.
So
Good.
That'll be done, and we'll have better. The big things, I don't have the contact for people, so I'm trying to get that so I can
True.
shout out and tell them a lot of the things happening in November, December, January, so they can plan, and we can all be on the same page, so.
I think it will also help if the city has a consistent point of contact, so that, you know, if you look at what's happening, you know, Rockford Vets isn't the city event, the wine festival isn't the city event, you know,
Yeah.
truly, you know, the Charlie Higgs thing was Charlie Higgs, not a city event, but if the city has somebody who's specifically supposed to help liaise rather than expecting all of these people to do their own thing
Right.
and not having the base knowledge of how this all works. That will help. I mean, I think that's part of, a good part of the MEDC funding that, because not only are we helping to bring people to Montgomery by encouraging these events, but then we're helping the businesses that are already here to navigate some of this so that they can get the most out of the people that we bring here.
Absolutely.
Could you just get somebody, the day of the events, to ride on a golf cart, to go to each business, make sure it's cleared all day? And that's all he or she do?
I think, sorry.
Sorry. I'm the only person in this spot, and so I'm at the events from setup to breakdown, and
Check with me during the day, I may be your sidekick.
I like that.
Fastest than Marcia Dillon.
There you go. But, questions? Any questions?
Nope, I have some at city council for the
Okay.
fall festival, but not MEDC.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
All right. If the board is satisfied, then we will move on to our next item. The board satisfied with the city presentation?
Do we need motion or just, okay?
We can just okay.
Okay?
Good.
It's not.
I'm okay.
Good.
All right, then. The MEDC Board of Directors is reserved the right to discuss any of the items listed specifically and depending on for any items listed above and close the executive session as permitted by law, including if they meet the qualifications in section 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, 551.073, deliberation regarding gifts, 551.074, personnel matters, 551.076, deliberation regarding security devices, and 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations of Chapter 551 of the Government Code of the State of Texas. Item number 9, adjourn into closed executive session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in the following. A, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, and 551.072, deliberation regarding real property. It is 6:56, and I am calling us as adjourned into closed executive session. We will be back. 7:23 PM. And the item under consideration is item number 10, consideration of possible action regarding the items listed in the executive session.
I make a motion to authorize the city administrator and the assistant city administrator to discuss real property. Yeah, to discuss real property.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we authorize the city administrator and assistant city administrator to discuss real property. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. Is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries unanimously, and we authorize the city administrator and assistant city administrator to discuss real property. Board inquiry, is there anything that the board would like to discuss now or in the future? I would like to hear another update, if we could, at our next meeting regarding our entrepreneurship initiative, if we could.
Sure.
And update on the movie? Strong
Yes.
something?
So the movie is like 99.9% done. We just needed to change one clip in it, and we're almost good to go. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. And there's no yodeling people in it like there was in the park video. So, which I have plans for one day changing, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. All right. Given that, might I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
It's been moved and adjourned. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.